right, welcome today to our podcast. Today we have the illustrious Mike Hadley joining us today, a member of our sales team. Just a little refresher, of course, who is Nexus IT? We're an outsourced IT company. We do managed services, cybersecurity, infrastructure, you name it in Microsoft, we work with it, and much, much more. That's just at a super high level. What we're doing today and over the next couple of weeks and the past few weeks is we're introducing what makes us great here at Nexus IT, and that's our team. Unfortunately, Mike doesn't meet that cut, but it's,
Not even close. It's not even close.
but I have to do that. No, I'm just kidding. So what?
Jake's been required to interview everybody against his better judgment.
Yes. And so if this seems forced in any way, that
It's because it is.
yes. Oh, this is great.
This is going to be fun.
It will
I can't
be good.
wait.
Yeah. So we'll start with having you do a little introduction to who you are.
Yeah.
What do you do every day here at Nexus, etc.
Yeah. So as Jake said, Mike Hadley from Nexus IT. I've been in sales for as long as I can remember, except for when I was in construction for my dad's company when I was a kid. So those are my two great skills, construction and sales. That's all I got, and I'm not smart enough to do anything else. What do I do at Nexus IT? As much as I possibly can, I try to give Jake the hardest possible time. Like anywhere I can, I try to make his life miserable or shame him for giving me a bad seat assignment.
And I can tell you, in all my years working, it's, the term touch of the master's hand. That's Mike. That's what he does for me.
I'm the best at it.
Yeah, he annoys me in ways that I didn't know I could get annoyed. And so
If I can have Jake have a sleepless night, I've won. So as much as I can do that, that's what I'm after.
yeah, I sleep weekends only. And that's just because I shut my phone off. In all seriousness, Mike loves to joke that, he's in sales and done it for a long time and not smart enough to do anything else. The fact is Mike is stellar at what he does. One of the things that I think sets Nexus apart than a lot of other places is the level of care and focus we put on a real solution for our customers. I mean, it's not just, can I sell a product? It's not just, is this a solution for them? Is it the right solution? Yeah. I'll share a quick story and then we can move on. Mike and I were working with a customer. This would be a fairly large deal. And we worked very hard with the customer to get them the right thing. And in the end, we're still working with them. Yeah. But in the end, it just wasn't a right fit for them. Yeah. But we held to our guns on what the right solution was for them. Because we could have just sold them something or gave them some time. And in the end, it would have been a poor experience.
We really battled on that one and really went back and forth. And ultimately, we've gone several times and been very point blank to the point of just saying, if you don't want to do this solution, we're not the right fit. And we don't say that with like a bunch of hyperbole or, anything like that. It's not even a sales tactic. It's probably the worst sales tactic. But we do care. I will say that for sure. We care about what's best for our customers. And that doesn't, we're not always right, but we do care about what we're doing. So we try to be as good as we can about those things. In this circumstance, yeah, we're still working with them. We just want it to be the right thing for the right customer. And sometimes, we don't always come to an agreement on that, but we definitely try.
Yeah, which is super cool to me. I mean, one thing I've talked about in some of the previous interviews with our team is sales teams are typically quite competitive and it can get hostile sometimes where it's like, man, I'm worried my back's going to be stabbed or if I was working a lead, but I didn't tag my name instantly that it's going to be stolen from me. And I can tell you many times that with multiple sales reps on our team that someone started the deal and then at a later time they came up and was working with another salesman and the original salesman ends up getting the deal back and we're all cool with it. Where does that happen? I mean, you've been in sales a long time. Is that normal?
No, I mean, it's normal when the boss comes in and forces it. But, I've been in environments, I've worked in almost every aspect in sales you can imagine, from management to, your true enterprise level accounts to knocking on doors, literally, and selling jewelry was my first sales job. I've had it on occasion where a territory was assigned and another sales rep just went into that sales rep's territory list and just started assigning himself accounts. Ultimately, that there wasn't a lot of success had by that person because that type of mentality isn't going to last long in business, but it can be, and it is cutthroat and it is competitive. I've never worked in a sales environment or an organization where we have each other's backs day in, day out. Sure, we're competitive. I mean, we are very
Oh
competitive.
yeah.
And I want to win, and I want to win every single day. I want to beat every one of these guys by a mile. But I love that they're successful, and I love that, I'm probably in second place, and that's okay right now. But
Yeah.
I try to make Jake not sleep, and now I don't sleep because I'm not in first place.
Yeah. There's not a lot of prizes for second place
No,
in my,
especially not a good seat.
yeah, yeah, obviously. You want to sit on next to me is the desired. The thing I've learned the most in my life is I tie it back to one line from a movie. If you're not first, you're last. And so, Mike,
Yeah. How's it feel to be last?
yeah, this
Yeah.
is, yeah, just putting that out there. Just kidding.
I'm just going to say, for the record, because I think this is important context, our listeners probably don't know this. I actually am in first place because until the end of this year, when all is said and done for a year, which we're not at the end of this year, we're halfway through the year, not even
46.8%. I think
46.8% through this year. I was first place last year. Now, that was last year, but that still counts until I'm unseated. So technically, really,
I think the seat says it all, though.
that's because you don't like me as much. I know who your favorite is.
Yes, I have favorites. And it's my wife. And just by the way, I just want to shout out Mike for his wonderful boots. As you can see, now I'm a boot wearer, and this is all because of Mike. And, I think that's important to give that shout out.
I appreciate that. And I mean, I've worked hard to brainwash our entire team into wearing boots. And Jake has been the one easiest to brainwash, obviously, because he has a boot.
Smallest brain.
No, again, like we have fun. We work very hard, but we do have fun. And sometimes we get some boots.
Yeah.
So we love that.
Yes, yeah. When you can get boots as a team.
Always get boots.
Yeah. How doesn't that benefit our total success?
Exactly.
So speaking of success, what are some of the greatest challenges you've faced and how have you overcome them? Whether that's in sales, whether that's in leadership, or, just in general, how do you overcome challenges, and do you have any examples you would be willing to share?
How do I overcome challenges? Well, I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. So that's where it starts.
Yeah. 2 quotes, same movie.
Same movie. No, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've learned over my life is you're never beaten until you quit. When you quit is the only time that you have lost, or that I would say that you have failed. And I don't really like the word failure because I've had instances in my life where I gave up on a thing, but ultimately I always go back and try to pick it back up regardless. Like, I'll give you a silly example. I'm working on it's a Yellowstone Lego skull thing, like, I don't know, cow or whatever, skull. And I got to a certain point in it and I got frustrated with it. So I set it down and walked away.
Set it or smashed it?
There's your version of setting and smashing. And then there's my wife will tell you that, we both get kind of into these things. When we first met, we would do puzzles together. And oddly enough, we were competitively working on the same puzzle. if that's even possible. And I turned to her like, same team, like we're working on the same thing towards the same goal. But I think, just being able to sometimes, take a step back, but don't give up. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I've had so many setbacks in different aspects of my life, from my career to my personal life. Most people that know me well enough know that I've been divorced, and, that has an effect on a person, but you can let certain things define you, or you can also, take that, learn from it, grow from it, and make yourself better from it. And I think the important thing is to remember to be able to look at a situation, regardless of whether of how hard it is or not, but try to be objective with yourself too.
Yeah.
And say, take your ego out for a second and look at the situation, be objective, say, where could I have done better? Even if you think you have no fault, right? Like, oh, it's 100% this thing or this other person's fault. Try to find fault. Try to find fault in yourself sometimes.
Look in the mirror. Yeah.
Look in the mirror and look hard. And then if you can see that and go, okay, and accept that and then go, okay, you can grow from that and you can make yourself better. And I think that's very important in life and in your career.
I love that. That actually, because both Mike and I are big movie buffs, it made me think when you're talking about not giving up. I recently watched with my family the second of the new Star Trek movies.
Oh, yeah.
Whether people like those or not, I know that's huge controversy.
It is?
I have no controversy with it, but there's a scene where Kirk says to Spock, he says, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I only know what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, for whatever reason, it's just that, like, touched my soul. Because there's so many times where it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but there's things I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going, and it might not be at the pace that I want it to be or others want it to be, but I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, I do think eventually you're going to find success. And success doesn't necessarily mean, monetary things or that, you'll get the girl or whatever it may be. It can be like, I learned from that experience. And because of that experience, I'm not going to do that again.
No, I completely agree. I happen to really like that movie. You're talking about the Chris Pine version.
Correct. Chris Pine, yes.
Yeah, Chris Pine, incidentally, his best movie is called Hell or High Water. Check it out if you haven't seen it. But
it is good.
It is very good. Anyway, I would agree with that. And I think that, it's something that I try to instill into my kids, for better or for worse, is effort, right? Like, I'm less concerned, and this may have one day come back to bite me massively. I don't know. But as a dad, I can only do what I can do. But I try to stress, putting in effort, trying hard, working hard. I feel like if you do those things, you'll get results. You might not get an A in class. You might not get a B in class. I don't care necessarily about that, but I do care about effort. I do care that you tried. I do care that you worked hard. Yeah. That's what I'm most concerned about with my kids and myself.
I love that. Mike and I have actually had a lot of long conversations about this and effort. And here at Nexus, we focus a lot on that is, was the effort put in? Because I think in the end, too, we all want the best results. No one's going to say they don't want the best results. Right. But if someone misses on results, there could be a bunch of excuses they could create. But how do you miss on effort?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just didn't put in the effort. Well, that's not acceptable. Or I 100% put in the effort, but I still missed. What do I need to change to get there?
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's difficult to measure effort, especially in an environment in sales where your job is ultimately your responsibility. Checks and balances in sales are harder to come by than, metrics for how many invoices you sent out. Well, that our accounting department does X amount of invoices in whatever month, whatever it is. Like, you can measure that pretty well. With sales, everything is measured by the amount that you sold last month, last quarter, last whatever. That's your ultimate measuring stick. It's difficult to quantify all the effort along the way. I think we try to do as fair a job in measuring effort at Nexus, but I still think that it's a difficult task for a company and an organization to measure that.
Agreed. I think we'll dig a little bit deeper into this because I think any salesperson, this is something that's critical. Like, one of the things that we work on a lot is, what are our activities we're doing? And one thing that's difficult in what we do is our sales cycles are, they're nuts.
Yeah.
Sometimes, where we have a call on a Thursday and Monday morning, guess what?
Yeah.
We're closing the deal.
Yeah.
And then we have others that it takes a year to year and a half to close. One thing that's unique about us, really, in the end, if you boil down everything, what are we selling?
Yeah.
We sell trust.
Yeah.
Because you have to trust us.
Yeah.
And that's not something necessarily that you can just earn right away with someone, and an absolute trust. Obviously we have an awesome reputation. All of those things help. But maybe speak to that a little bit with, the effort you're putting in with doing, different activities to build pipeline, all of those things. And then really, how do you stay motivated with it? Because how can we benefit other salespeople who, hey, I'm putting in the effort, I'm busting it hard.
Yeah.
How do I stay motivated while maybe everything on my side's working?
Yeah. And I think motivation is sort of a misunderstood term, in my opinion. How do you stay motivated, right? I mean, I can talk about like my family. That is 100% true. I am motivated by my family to take care of my family. Like, we like to do stuff that costs money. And, if we want to do those things, then we need the money to be able to do those things. That's motivating, but it's also motivating to just be a provider for your family.
Yeah.
And the better I can provide, the better I feel about, my status as a provider to my family. And I use a word like status, and don't get me wrong, I don't actually care about status in society. We were joking on the way in here about my business card. And the title on it is director of I don't know what. It's less important to me that there's a title on it, but that people understand that I care, like we talked about before. Back to sort of the question at hand of motivation. How do I stay motivated? You're always going to have ups and downs in your motivation. I think it becomes a motor almost, and it becomes a wiring almost. And I don't know, maybe some people don't have it, but maybe it's something that you can develop and work on. When I was younger, I didn't wake up and think to myself, I can't wait to be a sales guy when I grow up. It wasn't about that. It was just, I need to provide. I'm young and married, and I got to provide a living and for my family. And that's really what it came down to. But you're always going to have ups and downs. You're always going to have those peaks and valleys. And what do you do during those valleys? When you're not feeling it, when you're not feeling good, and you're not feeling like you want to go out and pound the pavement or make a call or even get on the meetings. If you go into a meeting and you're not feeling it, that comes across to your customers too. Yep. So there's everyday type of motivation that I think in certain aspects in your life, you just have to find a way to push through. One of my favorite books, I've convinced Jake or brainwashed Jake into reading.
Inception, another movie reference.
Yeah, exactly. Is the David Goggins book.
Can't Hurt Me.
Yep. Can't Hurt Me. Can't recommend it enough, honestly. But, he talks about in that book, embrace the suck, right? You're going to have those days where it hurts to get out of bed. I'm old. It hurts to get out of bed every day.
I'm getting there.
You've got to push through that. And I think, maybe in my younger years, I wasn't as good at that. Maybe it just took me until this point in my life or in somewhere in my later 30s or something to be able to really push through. I don't know. I'm not sure I have a great answer on motivation because I do think it's a bit of a misunderstood term. You can go to a motivational speech, and 100%, I've gone to tons of them, and you come out of there 100% like just you're fired up. Like you listen to Tony Robbins, I promise you'll get pumped.
Yeah.
At least for a little while. What's the last thing? I think you've got to develop that wiring and find ways to develop that wiring and that motor that keeps you going through those days where you don't feel like you want to do it. And I don't know how to do that necessarily.
You do a great job. And I do love, the real description that you gave. It's not something that's just a switch. And I like the thought of an engine. I mean, the engine's always running. It's just, what throttle you're on.
Sometimes you got the gas on. Sometimes you got the pedal down.
Yep.
Sometimes you're hitting the brake, but the gas is still going, or the engine's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made me think of something. So something I want to shout out Mike for is, so a little history. My company, Intellitek's, merged with Nexus in August 22.
Mm-hmm.
I got put over the revenue team. We made some changes and things like that. And I will say the best meeting I've ever had here at Nexus was I came into a situation thinking I was right about something. We can keep it generic.
Sure.
And I told the team, here's what it's going to be. And that's the first time of me working here that we had a real conversation.
Yeah.
Was that conversation easy for any of us? No. For me especially. But it was like, for the first time, it's like, we all dropped trow. And it's like, hey, we're all embarrassed right now.
Yeah.
But how are we going to solve the problem and how are we going to move forward?
Yeah.
And to me, honestly, that's like when I feel like our team gelled together. I mean, you hear, going back to David Goggins, he was a SEAL. He worked with the Rangers. he did all of these things, and he was with battle-worn people. And the reason they were battle-worn is because they were in the trenches together.
Yeah.
And so maybe talk a little bit from your perspective, how on a team, how does building trust with each other make a difference in your everyday work?
Yeah, I think that, and I'll shout out Jake for that meeting because, as he mentioned, came into it with a certain expectation, I would say.
I was wrong.
And I wouldn't even say that you were wrong necessarily. I think that you just maybe didn't have quite the complete picture. And that's not necessarily even your fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that what came out of that for all of us was a level of trust and respect wasn't there before. And this wasn't an overnight thing. It didn't happen in the 45 minutes to the hour that we were in that meeting, right? It was a moment that we worked through, and then we came out the other side, whatever it was, a week or 2 or 3 later, with mutual respect that just wasn't there a second before that meeting. Yeah. I think, in terms of like, we on this team, we talk about it fairly often about, the reasons that we love coming to work, the reasons that we enjoy being in the office. And it's the camaraderie that we have on this team.
Yep.
And that's something that, again, it's rare in sales. It's rare on a sales team. If you're in sales right now and you're feeling a little jealous, come talk to us.
Yeah. And you should be.
Yeah. No, but I mean, in all reality, I do think that, there's been just, we've been in the trenches and we've had some battles, and it wasn't always we agree or see eye to eye. It certainly wasn't. But out of it, from you and from me, and I think the team at large, if I can speak on their behalf a little bit, is because we were honest.
Yeah.
We were honest. It wasn't a selfish type of honesty. It was just, these are facts in black and white. And we came to you, but it wasn't just the facts in black and white. There was emotion behind it, and we needed to figure it out. But we didn't go away from it with a bunch of name calling and a bunch of hurt feelings. We walked away from it going, okay, we're going to work on this. We're going to figure this out together. And kudos to you for really coming to the table and saying, hey, I missed the mark on this one. And again, like, I don't even fault you for that because, again, if you look at a situation as a whole and be objective about it, you didn't have all the information coming into it. You just didn't.
Yeah.
And that is part of that situation, right? So going back to the motivation a little bit, when you know that your team and your leader has your back, you do have a little extra pep in your step to go into the office and make that next call and make that next, and I think it comes across too in our meetings with our customers. They can see the camaraderie that we have as a team, and you and I have been in several of those types of meetings and had a bit of fun. And that's important to our customers, I think, because it shows you're human. It shows that you're sincere. And, going back to what we sell, which is trust, if you can see that side of us and they see us as human, not just as people trying to sell them something, incidentally, you will probably sell more.
Yep. Which I think it's kind of cool. I mean, taking a step back at the whole process, one of the things I love with what we do is we are involved with our customers. Mm-hmm. It's not like a transaction where, you come in, you win the deal, and then it's like, bye-bye, Mr. Customer. We're involved all the way through. Yeah. And I think that helps level up the game. Speaking to trust, so this is kind of, rolling back the curtain a little bit. Give me your thoughts as a salesperson. We're selling, what we sell is service. Mm. That's our bread and butter is service. Obviously, we have a ton of product and those sort of things that we sell, but it's our support services. Yeah. Mike and I don't do that.
Nope.
We're not those guys.
You don't want me doing that.
I used to be that, and I have a hard time. I love to jump back in sometimes to that. So from a trust perspective, you've cultivated this relationship with a prospect. They bought into your vision. Mm-hmm. They know what you're selling is coming from your heart. And now you're delivering it to our team to support, which shout out to our team. Yeah. I think, hands down, we're one of the very best in the world. Yeah. Are we perfect? No. But from a sales perspective, what sort of trust do you have to build with our team? Because you're kind of handing off your baby to our team to manage.
Yeah, and there is a part of that. And I mean, that's an aspect to this job. The rest of the team that does the support side of this sales process, there's a process, kind of behind the scenes where we go and involve them and try to explain to them the challenges the customer is having, could be having, might be facing. And we try to explain as much of that as we can so that they're prepared for when that customer, if they do come on or when they do come on. And we've got to make sure that we've done enough of our job on the front end to be able to communicate that well to them so that we do feel comfortable, because if I don't do my job well and they don't understand what process we went through to get that customer to sign with Nexus IT, ultimately they're going to be frustrated. Our team's going to be frustrated with me, which is fair because I didn't, inform them. And our customer is going to be frustrated, which is more than fair because if we're not doing a good job, then they've got thousands of options just in the Wasatch Front of Utah
Exactly.
for IT services.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's absolutely paramount to get our team on board and see the vision, and that's a process. But every time that we've had complex customer and we've had to use a bunch of strategic sales techniques to get these customers on board, but we've gone to the team and explained to them what we did and why we did it, they've rallied big time. And hats off to them because they're great.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out, not to toot the horn of our sales team, but that's something we've really focused on is we're preparing the team because every customer is unique.
Yep.
As much as we would like to fit everyone into a little box, it's impossible. Like we've seen a dentist office and a manufacturing company that the way they run is the exact same.
Yeah.
Totally different industries,
Yeah.
but they run the same. But then two dentist offices are like night and day different.
Completely
we have
different,
to service it differently. And so what's really cool about what we do in our process is not only are we making sure we're selling the right thing, getting the customer what they need, but we're also working on how we're prepping the team so they're prepared, they can win and knock it out of the park. We've sold a few what I would call like weird for us
deals. Out of the box type.
Yeah, things that aren't the typical.
Yeah.
And we've nailed those ones.
Yeah.
And that was all through the preparation of what we're doing and then the acceptance of our team.
Yeah.
And that is pretty cool. I mean, that shows maturity on our team and on our frontline services team and the projects team that it's, okay, this is a little bit different, but we're good. You said it's going to be a curveball. We know how to hit curveballs.
Yep.
Now we're prepared. Hey, we knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting, let's say last sort of year because I don't know why in the last year, it seems like we've had a bunch of these kind of different for us type of accounts come at us. And when we go to the drawing board, let's say, and start trying to figure out how we're going to approach it, which I've got time on your calendar for a very similar thing for Friday now, where we're going to have to kind of figure out a way to scope services that we can, number one, make it successful for the customer. Number two, make structure in a way that our team can be successful in taking care of the customer. And number three, we're in business to make money, just like you should be if you're in business.
Yep.
We can't lose money on the deal. So it's going to be fun. And I think when we go to the team with that stuff and they just get behind it, I don't know why we've knocked them out of the park with those ones, but we just have. I don't know. It's been fun to see, and it's been really great to watch.
It has been awesome to see the maturity because we are a very high growth company, and with growth comes a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I've seen high growth companies crumble because of the growth.
Yeah.
And, taking our licks.
Sure. Yep.
And we'll continue to take them. But the way we're all working together, that's why we're able to grow so fast and maintain. It's been super cool.
Yeah.
So kind of shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned books besides David Goggins. What are some other books or podcasts or like your go-tos that help you with sales and leadership and life in general?
Sure. It's a funny one because, I could almost go back to being a teenager and, I looked up to a couple of guys that my dad was in business with and, at 17 and 18 years old, even though I was still a, dumb teenager. We'll just go with that. There's tons of stories there that we could get into, but we'll just go with dumb teenager. But I was influenced to read some books, and even to this day, I'll say, you know, The Greatest Salesman in the World, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Is it 7 or 12? He's written so many books, and
Yeah.
there's like
I think it's
spin-offs.
7.
I think it's 7. Man's Search for Meaning. You know, some of those books have affected my life in a very profound way that when I read them 20 something, 30 something years ago, I never would have imagined it, you know, would
Yeah.
have that much of an impact on my life. I still go back to certain lessons from each one of those books, and I think about them all the time. Lately, I can point to an author that's been very influential for me, Dr. Dan Siegel. He has a book called Mind, another called Mindsight, and another one called Aware. These are heavy thinker books that I had to, you know, many times rewind a certain passage or paragraph, audible rewind, you know, not go back, just to try to understand what he said. And I copied down passages into a notebook. Actually, that notebook's sitting on my desk, that I copied down those passages just to try to understand better what the meaning was. I would recommend those books to anyone, but I was given those books by my, at the time, my therapist, to help me to overcome some mental struggles, some challenges. I went through a period of depression, but I wouldn't say I was depressed. I had some hard times in my life. I was looking for some help. So I'd gone to see a therapist and came to trust that person quite a bit. And she recommended these books, and I just love them. And I would recommend them for anyone in business. I would recommend them for anyone in any stage of their life, because I think they help you think through things, see things differently. And I think sometimes that's key to success. I think it's key to success in life, to be able to not necessarily take an impulse and say, that's what it is. Sometimes it isn't that. Sometimes you need to step back and think about what that was, or, you know, your thoughts, you know, you can control your thoughts to some degree. And I think once you realize that and you wrap your mind around that, you know, like I always talk about, like, maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, and apologize for the
I'm
listeners,
enjoying it.
but it's actually in Man's Search for Meaning. But there's the process of saying, like, that person made me mad. And I don't like that term, made you mad or made you happy. Who has that much control over you?
Yeah.
No one should have that much control over you. You might feel unhappy about a thing, but that person didn't make you mad. You still chose to be mad about that thing. So that impulse, between that impulse and your response to that impulse, there's a microsecond or something in there where you've got to learn to be able to control that impulse of being mad or whatever it is, or sad. I'm not suggesting that I don't ever get mad or sad or anything. I do. All of those things are very human emotions. I'm suggesting that it benefits us to not blame someone for how you feel all of the time. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I love that. I totally agree. I think perspective taking is one of those things that doesn't come natural
Right.
all the time, because, you know, we've, as successful, smart people, we feel like we're right, you know?
No, I am right.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm married, so I know I'm never right. I'm just kidding. But, you know, I love that. And thanks for the vulnerability there. Powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
so you get humor, you get deep thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And it's all a load of crap.
So last question
Sure.
that we'll ask is, how do you balance your professional life and your home life?
Poorly.
I think we can wrap there. No.
Yep. And that's a wrap. No, gosh, man. I mean, you know, that's a big one, right? Because, you know, my wife worked in a very professional, high intense type of environment. She works very hard. I work as hard as I can. We have kids. We have young kids, you know, and she's home right now hoping that she can listen to this podcast and she can hear me give Jake as much crap as possible.
So far successful.
So far, so good. Good. And she's taking care of our 8-month-old son and our 6-year-old daughter. Now it's her stepdaughter and my daughter, but we don't really feel like it's that. It's her daughter. She takes care of her just like a mom would, and an 8-month-old, and she's working. So, you know, we do the best we can. I think that some days are, you know, you have all of these things in your life that you try to be good at. Some days, you know, at work, you did an A, you got an A at work, or you earned an A and worked hard. And then at home, maybe on that day, you got a D plus. Oh my God, I passed. Another movie reference.
I wish we'd known each other.
But, you know, maybe not a D plus, but maybe like a C at home, because work was the thing that you had to focus on more that day. And maybe you were following up on something at 7 o'clock at night when, you know, you could have been helping your wife do X, Y, and Z, you know, and sometimes it's vice versa. But I think at the end of the day, you know, my wife and I, we try to be appreciative of each other, you know, and just say, hey, thanks for everything you do. You do a lot. I appreciate it, and have that kind of gratitude for one another and for your kids too. I don't have a problem telling my kids, you know, hey, thanks for being a good kid today. Thanks for being a good kid this weekend. I appreciate that you did X, Y, and Z around the house. So the balance thing is a tough one. You've got to take time. You've got to try to be present when you're there. You've got to try to be as in tune with what's going on with your family as you can. I think sometimes that just means talking and asking good questions. I get a few minutes per week when I'm driving with just me and my 6-year-old daughter from her mom's house back to my house and vice versa. And I try to ask her good questions, questions that she can answer and give me some feedback from. And, you know, she's 6. What am I going to hear? The boy pushed her down at school. It's not about that. It's not about the answer. It's about making sure she knows I'm thinking about her, and I want her to know I care if she's had a good day or a bad experience or a fun experience, and I want to hear about it.
Yeah. I love that. Again, thanks for your openness and sharing that. You know, I think balance is one of those things that I struggle with a lot because it's, you know,
Yeah.
we want to win, but, you know, what's most important, you got to nail those things down.
Yeah.
So as we close, I just want to let Tori know that, because I know she'll be watching, just, you know, keep the wolf tattoos front of mine. That's all I'll say. It's kind of an inside joke, but yeah, no voices needed.
No. I mean, the wolf tattoo is very important, and she'll appreciate that.
Yeah. Little shout out there. So the way I end these always is stay classy, Salt Lake City.